And if you see me looking down at you, it's because I'm standing up at my little lectern and you guys are off to the side in my window. That's exactly how the kids have it every day too, just so you guys know. So one of the cool things, you guys can still see me, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the cool things is I'll actually have my kids on the monitor next to me that are on Zoom, just so you guys know. And then the board will be projecting what I have on my computer or what I'm pushing out. So no matter where you are, you're going to see the same stuff, which is kind of cool. Also, the audio, when I have the board hooked up, the projector, the audio plays through the classroom. So even if you stay home, those questions get played throughout the sound in the classroom. So it's like you're being here, essentially. Anyways, here's the return to school plan. I should open this up real quick. Sorry. Give me 1 second. If you have any questions along the way, you can type them in the chat and then I'll answer them at the end. Or you can stop me. There's only 9 of us. Whatever. We're fine. I'm fine. We're fine. It's all fine. It's kind of the motto.
You need the t-shirt.
Right? It was a little too girly, you know, the swirls and stuff, and no, I'm good. They're all like that, you know, or there's too many rhinestones for me. I don't mind a little bit, but too, you know.
You're not blingy. You're not bling
bling. So here's our agenda right now. We're just going to discuss some of the benefits really quick, and again, some of this is going to be repeated. We'll go over the schedule, talk about some expectations, and then Q&A if you have it. So some of the benefits of this learning model is they're going to be able to keep their teacher. Some of the other areas and some of the other schools are talking about possibly kind of blowing up their rosters and potentially moving schools, potentially moving grade levels as a teacher, potentially having kids go with another teacher from another school. All kinds of stuff was going to possibly happen. So one of the benefits is they get to keep their teacher. They're going to get up to 5 hours of instruction with a credentialed teacher. Some of the original models were only 2.5 with a teacher, and then 1.5 hours or more of asynchronous is the term, where they're on their own completely without teacher help. So we're going to have 5 hours with a credentialed teacher, which is pretty nice. If you choose to keep your child home, they receive the same education as everyone else who's in person. Even doing this right now, I'm presenting it in a way where I'm speaking out to the class and you guys can still hear me. It's the same thing that they're going to get. So if they're at home, I mean, I'm projecting my voice straight out like I normally would, and you guys see me. If I'm sharing my screen right now to the board, you'd be seeing the same thing what you're doing right now. So you can kind of see that it works whether you're here or not. You know, one of the benefits of being in person is, you know, that check-in of the reinforcement, like, hey, you know, or there's not an extra TV with Netflix on in the background, you know, whatever it might be. And then they don't have to split screen because I'm going to be sharing my screen up on the board. So instead of split screening through Zoom, they'll just be on their computer working through, you know, whatever Google Classroom assignment we're working on. If your student is sick or required to quarantine, let's say they show up with a symptom and they're forced to quarantine for 10 days, or maybe someone at home tests positive or has symptoms and you choose to quarantine, they're going to get the same thing. And again, like I just said, speaking out, projecting my voice to everyone in the room, they hear me, you hear me, it's the same. You know, there's a big pushback that, you know, I'm going to focus my attention on just the computer kids, or I'm going to focus my attention on just the kids in class. But really, as I'm looking out, you know, I'm going to stay in my little home base unless I need to come out of my home base. But this will work, you know. It is a little more like a college lecture style as far as standing in front of the room, but I'll make it fun. I make everything fun. That way the time passes, because I can't handle it either if I'm not having fun. If I'm not having fun, then it doesn't work for me either. And then lastly, it's flexible. You know, if there's a day where transportation's an issue, stay home and Zoom and you'd miss nothing, you know. If there's a day that you're traveling for work, or you're forced to stay home yourself and you normally go to work, whatever it may be, they just get on Zoom and it's the same, you know, business as normal. So a lot of positives. The one downside that I can see is the transportation. If you can't get them here for the 2.5 hour block, I mean, that's tough, but I think they're looking into possible bus schedules if possible, for a mile radius of the school. I don't know 100% if they figured that out yet or not. But again, we're in the beginning stages of this, and maybe we can transition as things develop and we get better at this. Do we have to notify you the day you decide to stay home or on Zoom, or does he just show up on Zoom? So the way I'm planning that, and I know I said I'd wait to the end, but I might as well answer it right now. They're going to log in. If they're not in person, they're going to log in from 8 to 8:30. And that's going to be when I take roll. They'll take roll throughout the day to make sure, you know, fortunately, they're not junior high kids and not thinking about skipping class very much right now. But that's kind of what the secondary has to deal with. You know, the kids don't show up for their later periods, or they log in and then they turn their camera off and they go do whatever the heck they want. We don't really have that problem right now. But yeah, they will get roll in the morning, and then they're checked in throughout the day to make sure that they stay there. So that if they stay home, that's going to be kind of how they do that. I will have a physical, like live body count type of attendance that I'm going to be taking throughout the day when they're in person, just in case we have a lockdown or a fire drill or something like that. We know where everyone is. So if they're at Zoom, I know that they're there, and I know the office knows who's here in person, so we can get our counts right. If there's ever any kind of lockdown situation or anything like that. Does that answer your question? Cool. All right. That was a good one, by the way. Thank you. Here's the 6th grade schedule. So they're going to come in person from 8 to 8:30. That's their kind of arrival window. They will go to the center of the school. Right now, we have one entrance point. As we progress, it'll probably turn into the kindergarten Z gate, the campus club Z gate, the loading zone, by the I don't even know what that is, by the amphitheater, I guess, and then the middle one, the tunnel. There we go, tunnel. Okay, that'll probably be the other spot. When they do that, and we'll get into that, you're gonna have to stay with them, and we'll get to that in a minute. So in the morning, they'll be receiving math and ELA with me in person or on Zoom. Okay, it's the same thing. So if I'm projecting, you know, my doc cam, and we're working through the math book, the kids at home are getting the same thing that everyone's getting in class. And same with ELA. If I'm projecting something in ELA, or they're reading straight from their computers potentially, they have that. So if they're home, it's no different. Then there's the 11 to 12:30 lunch and transition. So they will, if they get a lunch from school, they will grab the lunch and go. They won't be eating here. If you guys have lunch ready for them when they get home, that's fine too. So they don't have to take a lunch. And then from 12 to 12:30 is kind of that time where the 5th graders will be coming onto campus. So that's like their arrival window. And I'm trying not to say, like, I'm trying to get, I have Disney on my mind right now. I don't know why, but I'm thinking like a fast pass. Like that's their arrival window. They got to show up between 12 and 12:30, and they get to go on the ride. And they're here. So then in the afternoon, after lunch, the 6th graders will have an hour of social studies with Miss Banbury, who's with us right now. And then an hour of science with Miss Asai, who is one of our 1st grade teachers, but she will be helping us out with science. She was on the, I think it's AE, I think, for elementary school. It's the same, Edgenuity for high school. She was doing that, but her numbers of in-person people switched over. So she's not needed there. And so she will offer us some support teaching science for our combo. And then lastly, they're going to have 30 minutes of iReady MyPath in reading and math. That's their leveled individualized instruction that we have set up for them. I'll let a couple more people in, sorry. Hi, welcome. You're just in time. I'm getting to the 5th grade part.
Perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
IEP, and I was like, oh, I just remembered.
It's all recorded anyway, so I'll send it out in an email and you can rewatch it if you want to. Here's the 5th grade schedule. So from 8 to 8:30, they're going to log in to a whole class morning meeting. That's when I'm going to take attendance for the morning. Okay. If they're here in person or if they're on Zoom, they'll get attendance for that. And then from 8:30 to 9, they're going to be on iReady MyPath. That's their, again, individualized learning and reading and math. From 9 to 10, okay, they will be on a social studies Zoom again with Miss Banbury. And then from 10 to 11, they will have a science Zoom with Mrs. Sai. Then they have their lunch and transition. Again, they're going to show up from 12 to 12:30 for their arrival time. If they're at home, obviously they stay home and get ready to get on Zoom at that time. And then they start their in-person in the afternoon, 12:30 to 3. And then they have the math and ELA in person or on Zoom. And then on Wednesday, everybody's home. Right now, it'll be all subjects on Zoom with just me. But we might transition and borrow Miss Banbury again if she's willing and able. We'll borrow her for that time on Wednesday too, so we can break it up a little bit more.
Yep, I'm available.
Will you? School? Yes, there will be more information on the drop-off, and that's actually coming up next. So the drop-off here, so parents are asked to pull their vehicles through the front of the school loading zone and wait in their vehicle until the temperature check is complete. If they're walking to school, I've had this come up. If they're walking to school on their own and they do not clear their temperature check or their screening, they go to a wellness room, and then they will need to be picked up right away. Okay, so they're kind of our responsibility if they're walkers, I guess. I was under the impression like if they walk to school, they'll just walk home if they don't pass, but that's not the case. So they will wait here until they're picked up. If you're physically walking them, obviously they just walk back with you. Upon exiting the vehicle, each student's temperature will be checked and student will receive a sticker verifying they are permitted on campus. The sticker will change daily. They didn't like my barcoding idea, so we're doing stickers instead. Or chip, maybe. I was thinking like a chip too, maybe. I don't know. We do it for our animals, right? Why not? Students will bring their own laptop and instructional materials. So they're going to need to bring their computer every day. And this is kind of something I wanted to talk about. We need to make sure they have some kind of habit or routine of plugging those things in at home. Because we are going to figure out the logistics of charging in class if we need to. But hopefully we don't need to. And I know that some computers are different. I mean, I had computers throughout college, honestly, that if it didn't stay plugged in, the second it came out, it turned off. And, you know, I'd lose everything. And I get that. So some of us are working with different things, but we need to do our best to charge them ahead of time. So if they're at home in the morning, keep them plugged in while they're Zooming, turn it off completely as they're transitioning to school, and then come in and hopefully they don't need to plug in, okay, for that 2.5 hour block. If there's a situation where they need to plug in, we'll figure that out. I have large power strips. I have one huge one that has 10 plugs, and then I have some other small ones so we can sprinkle them out throughout the room as needed. And this, they're going to need their own materials, pencils, things like that, books. They will bring, this is the nice thing, they're only going to need to bring their math book and their ELA books to school. So they don't have to bring like their whole thing with them because they'll do social studies and science from home. They're going to have their mask on before exiting the vehicle, and they're going to have to wear them pretty much the entire day. Now we're talking about breaks, you know, breaking up the learning, because 2.5 hours is a long time for anyone to sit through something. So we'll go out, they'll be able to have a snack, you know, we'll spread everyone out so there's plenty of room, and they can take their mask off in that situation as long as there's, you know, 6 feet apart, and I don't know, a mask break we want to call it, and they'll get a snack and water or whatever else they need to do. And let's see here, I got another slide of expectations. We kind of talked about this a little bit, but if they demonstrate any COVID-19 symptoms, including just about everything that you've ever seen on any kind of commercial for any kind of drug advertisement, which is a COVID symptom, they are going to have to quarantine at home for 10 days. So one of the nice things, and again, about being flexible, if they have a runny nose, just keep them home. If you know it's seasonal allergies, something like that, they slept with a fan next to them and their throat's scratchy, whatever that is, just keep them home just so you don't have to enter that quarantine process. It does affect siblings a lot more too. So the rule is if they stay home for 10 days, the sibling has to stay home for 14 days after the 10 days is up. So that could be a total of 24 days for the sibling to stay home. So keep them home if they have a symptom, and then just know that they're going to get the same thing if they were here or not, other than the split screening and me and a live version of me, which is always good. Parents are asked to please be prompt in dropping off and picking up. You have to arrive within your fast pass window. If you're not, you will not get on the ride. Okay. Make sure you're here between 8 and 8:30 or 12 and 12:30. That way we don't have any issues. I mean, obviously we'll work with you. Things happen, but let's do our best that way. We're not disrupted. Apparently I'm going to be walking them to the front of the school. I didn't read that part. So I'm going to be escorting them to the front of the school during dismissal, probably at lunch and at the end of the day, unless I hear otherwise. During that lunchtime, by the way, we have a cleaning routine that I'm going to be doing. The students won't sit in the same desks as another student in the afternoon. So they have their own desk. It'll be their desk for the entire time that we do this. They won't keep anything here. So anything that they bring will be kind of taken to and from school in their backpack. Just so I have every surface that I'm able to clean. And then lastly, if you are bringing them, you need to be complete that acknowledgement that most of you already did in order for them to be here. Wireless passwords for personal computers that do not belong to CUSD. So there is a they'll just have to know their first last 001 login, and they should be able to get on just fine as far as the guest access goes. Questions?
So, Donnie, you said that they can use their regular computers, because I know when my kids brought their personal laptops to school, we couldn't get them on through the CUSD guest.
There's a way, and they just did it, so I didn't know the way.
Okay.
I still don't know the way 100%, but we had a little experiment in the tech lab with bringing some students on, a small pot of students, and they all brought their personal devices, and there's a way for them to get on. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
it works somehow, some way.
On the Wednesdays, are you going to let us know if it's like their small group day just for different transportation type things?
Yeah, I need to create so that their small group, everything will be on Zoom on Wednesday, no matter what. So their small group will come out ahead of time. Okay. I'm assuming it'll be mostly a focused on math, because that seems to be the area where we're really struggling as far as, honestly, there's been a little bit of learning loss, and we're trying to fill in those gaps from last spring to now. And that's probably going to be the area of focus for me is in those groups. And they will be every Wednesday, but your child may not be in every Wednesday.
Okay, but we'll know before. I'm just thinking because I have transportation windows in between that time, so I just want to make sure we're
correct. I'll let them know ahead of time. Hopefully, it'd be ideal to be out that Monday so they know, but it might not be realistic. It might be during that day. That lesson might go really bad for some of them, and I'd like to respond in real time if I can. Sort of the way we do it in person. We have a math lesson. We go to lunch. We come back from lunch. And I typically have a reteach time right after lunch for 15 to 20 minutes with just that small group of kids that didn't get it. That's what I'd like it to transition to. It's been a little bit of a challenge with both grade levels and both and being virtual. Mm-hmm. So hopefully we can streamline it a little bit more than what I've already been doing. And now that I'm going to be more involved with the math directly, it'll be easier for me to diagnose those kiddos from 5th grade for sure that need to stick around a little bit longer.
So 5th graders are starting at 12:30?
Fifth graders will be starting in person at 12:30. They're going to be starting first thing in the morning at 8 with a Zoom login. So from 8 to 8:30, they're going to be Zoomed with the entire class. And then
Okay.
at 8:30, from 8:30 to 9, they will be doing iReady. And then 9 to 10 is a social studies block with Miss Banbury. From 10 to 11 is a science block with Miss Asai, and then they have lunch.
Okay, so they're on campus at 12:30.
Between 12 and 12:30, you probably want to get here around 12, especially as we start progressing, because keeping people 6 feet apart and doing all that, there's going to be more and more kids coming on campus, depending on whatever I missed the last 30 minutes of the meeting that I walked out of. There's going to be more and more kiddos arriving though, as we get closer to January. And so it may take longer. And again, we're talking about, right now we have one entrance point. We're going to have as many of those entrance points as we can, open to kind of alleviate some of that congestion. You can walk up, pull rather than pull through the loading zone. Can we walk up? And yes, you can do that, Devin. Sorry, I'm just reading that now. And yeah, and that kindergarten area, that the Z gate over there by the field will eventually be one of those spots more than likely too. So that'll be a nice spot to kind of travel through.
And then this will roll right in through January, right? So this is just going to be.
As of right now, this is the plan moving forward. It could change if the board says,
Sure.
no, you don't have the autonomy anymore. You're doing it this way. Right now the school is kind of up in arms about what should be done and what shouldn't be done. And, what works for me doesn't necessarily work for a kindergartner or a first grader.
Right.
So that is kind of where we're at. It's kind of a tough point, but I think this is really good for my kids, for our age, the age group that we have. The amount of time is not that bad. There's breaks built in within the day. So they're not sitting there, for 5 hours in front of a screen if they're home. They have the hour and a half lunch break. If they're at home, they stay the entire time, on the break. So they have an hour and a half now. They'll have probably a 15-minute window in the AM session and the PM session where if they're at home on the screen, just walk away, stand up, go get a snack, go get water, do all that stuff. So we'll build that in.
And then if they're absent, like if they stay home and Zoom, that's not going to be a big deal because they're still in attendance, right?
Correct. That's the nice part. So as long as they log in the morning time, they're going to get attendance for being at school. And then after that, they're going to get engagement time for each window that they're there. So the Assembly bill requires us to log engagement, whether they're participating or not. And again, that's to keep track of those kiddos that mostly in the secondary are logging in and then turning their camera off and walking away and doing something else, or we don't really have that problem right now.
And then what happens with band? Because I think they have band at 8 a.m. on Thursdays. Is that going to change?
I threw a wrench in the band thing. I don't know what they're going to do, so they're going to have to figure something else out now.
Okay.
Yeah, they already had a tough enough time. I kind of feel bad now that you said that.
It's the same thing with percussion in the afternoon on Thursdays too, because percussion's at 2:20. So.
Angela, what was that? The YouTube that I saw, it was a comedy spoof. They're going to be only on days divisible by 3.
Yeah. Months that end in R.
And months that end in R. So that's just another hiccup. We're going to have to communicate that out. But I think that moving forward, this is a good opportunity to get the kiddos back in a safe way. That's priority. I didn't really mention this, but it's kind of up to them to make sure that we can keep doing this too. We got to do our part to stay safe. So, the conversation from you guys, as well as the conversation with me when they're here, will go a long way with that. We got to, and I mean, my entire group of 6th grade boys is on campus the second we let out of school, and they're all, next to each other and hanging out, and we'll probably have to clean that up a little bit, but they miss each other. So hopefully, just the fact that they're around each other in person, even though it's going to be different and weird and they're not going to be able to move around as much and as freely, at least they'll be able to see each other.
As far as supplies goes, they're gonna need their math book, their laptop, and paper and pencil. Anything else?
Yeah, fifth grade will probably have to start bringing their benchmark in person. I'll probably do my best to try to streamline ELA. One of the nice things about the combo with ELA is a lot of the standards overlap, and we've been able to teach the same things to both grade levels. And that really extends the fifth graders for one, and the sixth graders, I can extend them. I usually make them do a little bit more with it. So that's one nice thing. We have Scholastic News, which we utilize for both grade levels. So sometimes they won't even be using their benchmark, but they'll probably still need to bring it.
Those are the
The
really.
math book and reading series for both grade levels is probably important to bring in person. We have digital access to all those things too, for math and for reading, but I mean, it's kind of nice to have the printed copy sometimes.
Hey, Donnie and Angela, thank you guys so much for making this happen, because I know how much work has gone into you guys trying to develop this pilot, and I know the kids who are coming back are super grateful, and I'm probably speaking for all the parents on here that we are too. So
Yes.
thank you guys for giving it a go and being willing to put yourselves out there, because working for the district, I know that wasn't a hard string to pull, so thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of again, there's some division, with what's going on and but again, it comes down to what works for me doesn't work for everybody, and that's real. That's the situation we're in. So
Right.
right now, I think that I figured out something that works. I took what Dr. Hammock, who presented this idea to us, and I tweaked his model to make it fit for me. So I'm not even doing exactly what he had, but it works for me. And what works for kindergarten and first grade, they can't necessarily stay home and Zoom for 5 hours. That's not realistic, or let alone switching, like we have Miss Banbury. Our kids are able to transition very well. They're really good at it.
If the link is working that day.
Yeah. And one day, so my son's in Catone's class in kindergarten, and one day I had Banbury's link was right next to Catone's link, and I had copied Catone's link into the meeting. So all the fifth graders went to Catone's meeting, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And then Tanner, my son's like, your class came to my class this morning. And, but they're really good at it. When I don't mess up, they're really good at it. Let's put it that way.
And if any of you guys know Mrs. Catone and myself, I'm 5 foot and she is not 5 foot. She has red hair, I do not. And the one difference that some of these fifth graders saw was, Miss Catone, your glasses are different. that was the difference between the two of us on the screen when it came down to it. So someone finally said, guys, it's not Mrs. Banbury.
If you guys need anything moving forward, if you have questions, I mean, I know for sure we're going to have hiccups, with this thing. And some of we're going to slow back down a little bit. But I think that we're in a place where it's not going to be that slow. It's not going to take from our learning time. It'll be a smooth-ish transition. I think logging in at school is going to be one hiccup that we're going to face on Tuesday, and I already foresee that. But everything else, as far as functioning on Zoom and functioning once we get the computers rolling, it'll be fine. They're already doing it. They know what to do. They're at an age where they can handle it, and so we should be good to go.
I think just having patience that first week is going to be easy for the kids and the parents too, and as teachers, because I think we all have a vision of how we want it to be as parents, as kids, as teachers, and that first week is inevitably going to have hiccups just because, I mean, think about the first week when we started the school year this year and the hiccups that we had, but we worked through it and we mastered it, as best that we could. And so I think that'll happen again. We just have to be patient. There's going to be little things that we'll have to go, oh, okay, that didn't work. Try it this way. And just be patient. So tell the kids that, and, go into it with that expectation, and maybe we'll be pleasantly surprised and there will be none. But
and I think that the more positive we can be about this, the more positive they're going to be too, you know.
Exactly.
So they feed off us, you know. So if we can be positive about it and have that prep talk, like, hey, you know, something might go wrong today as far as, you know, logging in and stuff, but just, you know, it'll be fine. It'll work out.
Roll with it.
Roll with the punches. That's right. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate
excited.
you.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Can't wait to get the kids back to school. So thank you.
Yeah, we got this. Have a good day.
All right. You guys have a good one.
Bye.